Welcome to another edition of Web Serial. This is Alison Kentish and we are in St. Lucia. This month we invite you to join us as we discover Latin American poetry, a literary genre that expresses the beauty of our continent. Now we go to Nicaragua. There, Jose Leonel Raguma became a symbol of struggle for the next generation of Nicaraguans. Let's watch more about this former guerrilla fighter, lecturer, and poet.
That expression came out from the bottom of his soul, was his last shout. It became the fight symbol for the new generation. That is how he's remembered by this filmmaker, who was captivated when he learned about the life of Jose Leonel Raguma, the man from the guerrilla, seminary and poet, a short film in his honor.
Él lo hacía de una forma bastante directa, bastante precisa y sobre todo muy rebelde. Y creo que diciendo las cosas muy claramente, pero sin quitar nunca ese sentido como sentimental que él tenía. Él era un hombre muy enamoradizo, pues.
Y nunca se me olvida que se murió debiéndome 20 pesos de pan.
The revolutionary poet, as he is called by one of his greatest friends and fight colleagues, Omar.
¿Te acordás de aquel muchacho, el que vendía tortillas?
Shares with us one of the ideologies that Leonel used to believe. Know only to live life generates happiness. Life makes sense and is more fulfilling when it is lived in function of other people's happiness. His main legacy.
Todos los poemas de él eran un verdadero canto a la vida y a la lucha, pues. Era un poeta revolucionario. Él siempre unió lo ético, vale decir, el pensamiento revolucionario y lo estético y la belleza.
Like the Saints, Epitaph, Life, Earth is a Satellite of the Moon are some of his poems.
Nunca apareció su nombre, que nadie...
These young people say they have read more than one. They are sure that it is part of the history of this country. Nonetheless, when they hear his name, they no doubt can recall the image of a hero.
Las facetas que igual que tuvo Leonel en su trayectoria pues fueron diferentes, pero más que todo me identifico con él como poeta.
Murió como todo un hombre.
They all agree that the first commitment for the new and future generations is to maintain what has been achieved until now. Thanks to insignia men like these, who have no doubt left their mark in the great part of the Nicaraguan youth.
It's time to go to El Salvador. There, a documentary that explores the life of poet Roque Dalton was premiered last year on May 14th. Many people, mainly the youth, have welcomed this documentary and used it to promote debates.
We are in front of the most comprehensive archive of the Salvadorian poet Roque Dalton, where we find unpublished photos and handwritten manuscripts, treasured by his youngest son, George Dalton.
Que tengo alrededor de un 80-85% de la obra escrita. En pocos años de su vida llegó a generar todo un pensamiento y llegó a generar todo una obra poética con cierta complejidad, o sea, con cierto nivel, que lo puso al lado de personalidades de la literatura latinoamericana de gran nivel, ¿no?
Yo como tú amo el amor, la vida, el dulce encanto de las cosas.
In celebration of Dalton's birthday this past May 14th, Austrian filmmaker Tina Lisch's documentary was featured for the first time in the country, which was well received, especially by the youth, as material for debate.
Que vean esto y que les quede como la duda, como, yo quiero saber más, quiero saber realmente qué pasó con él, quiero interesarme en sus poemas y saber por qué.
Dalton's pen had a sense of critic, but also contemplative. This allowed him to transform poetry into a fighting tool. This feeling influenced an entire generation of rebel poets during the 60s.
Los poetas se integran a la lucha y al momento que se integran a la lucha también están haciendo cultura, están haciendo una poesía revolucionaria que hasta esta época tiene una enorme vigencia.
Los sembradores de maíz en plena selva extranjera, los reyes de la página roja.
Pablo Benitez declaims the love poem, one of the most well-known works of the Salvadorian writer, at the place where his remains supposedly rest, murdered by his own fight colleagues.
Debemos saber qué pasó, dónde quedó su cuerpo. Dalton debe tener también la dignidad de la muerte. Los tristes más tristes del mundo.
Memoirs, Truth and Justice are the voice that unites those who admire the poet's transformative vision.
La familia Dalton tiene interés en crear la Fundación Roque Dalton, que pondrá a disposición el archivo literario y el legado del reconocido poeta salvadoreño. Ernesto Ábalos, Telesur, El Salvador.
In Costa Rica, a group of poets took art to every corner of the country in order to raise public awareness. They have even gone to jail to share the message that violence must be fought with poetry. Let's get more in this story.
Repitiendo alegrías exterminadas.
Poetry is a synonym of peace and freedom. It is defined that way by a group of poets who have taken the art to all corners of the country by means of an international festival, with the goal of creating awareness and transitioning towards a world of peace.
La idea de crear un mundo así pasa por la sensibilización, y la sensibilización está muy ligada con la poesía y con el arte en general.
Poet Norberto Solanas has sought the awareness of people deprived of freedom. Through poetry, he has been visiting prisons for the past 12 years.
Y a través de la poesía pueden descubrirse a sí mismos y pueden solucionar conflictos que tengan con ellos mismos, con su vida, y los he visto incluso salir luego libres.
Several of them left prison for a few hours to attend a different kind of cultural event. After years of reading and working inside prison, new poets emerged who even presented a book with poems of high literary quality.
Brotan las esperanzas para el convicto. Silencioso, la mirada hurga el futuro y arrastra calendarios. Espera ese último amanecer en la jaula sin nombre.
The book is a diffusion tool as well as the poetic expression of people in prison.
La idea con esta publicación es abrir espacio tanto para los poetas que están adentro todavía como para los que ya han salido y necesitan que la sociedad también los apoye.
Some of them have rejoined society and maintained their link to poetry.
Y pienso que la poesía nos ha ayudado mucho a salir adelante, a surgir, a ver el mundo desde otro punto de vista. Y pienso que la escritura y la lectura de poesía es muy importante para los privados de libertad. Nos ayuda a trabajar lo que es su parte emocional, sentimental.
The House of Poetry gave the workshops to 28 convicts, out of which 14 had already been released. The book presented is a collection of poems written in jail so that their words can fly in freedom.
Thank you for joining us as we talked about poetry in Latin America. I hope you enjoyed